So many of the people that I find inspiring are artists, and they're over periods of time. Probably one of the artists that I find most compelling is Yves Klein, who was really a shaman, and he did some seemingly simple things. He made these blue monochromatic paintings, or he dipped people in paint and then dragged them on canvases, and those simple acts were ultimately breathtaking because of the shamanism that he brought to it in that transformation process.
I'm inspired by the technology sector. So I look at Bill Gates, what he's doing in terms of philanthropy. I look at what Steve Jobs is doing in terms of innovation and how to run a cutting edge innovative company. And I'm inspired by that, and I try to take ideas back to our little company and say, how can we be better?
I think the people I find most innovative and inspiring, believe it or not, are 6-year-olds. I think children have an amazing mindset, and they're not hampered by the constraints of adults and their knowledge of reality. And because of that, they can invent great new ideas and can do impossible things.
Philipping. I've worked with Philip for years, most notably on Fashion Cares, where he's the creative director, and he's also works at Mac. And I find that what he brings to events, he manages to merge an event with art and fashion in a way that I just find tremendously creative.
Well, I have to go back to history. I mean, one of my favorite innovators was Monet. I think he took the art movement in a place that was amazing. Again, embracing, the study of outdoor design and outdoor lighting and whatnot. I think he really was inspiring to me growing up as a designer and an artist.
Oh, I love architects. I love scientists. I love designers. I love interior designers. I love chefs. So they're all kind of innovative at the same time.
I think the person that I found most innovative was Merv Griffin. I mean, when I met him back in the early 90s, it was somebody that I knew watching on television, but really didn't know the story behind who he was as a businessman and how he came from nothing and created the empire that he created. I was fortunate enough to work with him for 12 years and, struck up a great friendship. But watching him turn an entertainment business into an empire is something that I, really looked at as something that I want to be able to do.
I find great architecture innovative. That's a lot of, architecture and design. We're very fortunate that we get to work with some of those great artists, talented people. And I find them, but if I had to choose one, actually now he's like 90-something, is Oscar Niemeyer, the man that created Brasilia and that had the vision of, put buildings actually upside down. I still think he rocks.
I think, like as you were saying, I find actually working parents very innovative, because you need to find that innovation every day to survive and try to do both well. And if there were one person that I think is doing a very good job of balancing, that would be Gwyneth Paltrow. And I know it's very random, but I think that when, you win an Academy Award in your 20s, you can kind of kick up your feet. And then she kept pursuing different hobbies and careers and so forth, and that's very inspiring to me.
The person that's probably inspired me the most was the director of the past Olympic ceremonies, the Beijing opening ceremonies. His name was Jean Jumeau, and I think he created an event that will never be replicated. I've watched it at least 20 times, and every time I watch it, sometimes I get tears in my eyes. It's pretty amazing.
I would have to say that the theatrical community, as well as the live entertainment community, is definitely innovative and inspiring to me. I like the idea of being able to go see live performance and take back a piece of that and incorporate it into my design for events.
I find innovative anyone who's really thinking big, who's thinking bold. So it could be like a fine artist like Christo, who does his gates in Central Park. Or it could be Diane von Furstenberg, who has a whole new line, and it is really like tailored and chic and amazing and use of color. Or I love another event designer like David Stark. I love what he does. And I love how we all get to appreciate each other's work. And we all get to look at each other's work. And we need to make sure that it's very different. But we all can draw on all this inspiration.
I find for my business and for my love of the industry, I find Ian Schrager definitely innovative and inspiring. There's somebody who started out in the nightclub industry and ended up in jail and came back out and was really the innovator and, in my opinion, the first to launch what is now considered a boutique hotels worldwide. And everybody on this planet is out there, trying to do the best they can with that concept. And I think he was definitely the first one to launch and do an awesome job at it.
Well, I think, for me, probably the most inspiring character ever in life was Arnie Mame on the TV series. I used to think she was like the consummate hostess, and she worked a room like no one has ever worked a room. And I think the most innovative people today are the ones who are willing to sort of take risk and who try things on a different level. And Arnie Mame was definitely one of those. So.
There are a lot of musicians that inspire me that I think are innovative. There's like this indie band called the Low Anthem. There's big acts, like sometimes the Black Eyed Peas. They inspire me too because they get bigger and better and wilder, and same with Lady Gaga.
Festival promoters. I love music festivals. They, to me, are the biggest kind of events that we do, with sort of 50,000 people coming together. And it's the people behind Bonnaroo, Superfly, it's the people behind Coachella, Golden Voice, who put on these incredible events and curate these most amazing experiences.
I find Kelly Wearstler really innovative. She's taken traditional designs and made them relevant and interesting. Karl Lagerfeld with Chanel, who's continued to grow a brand and make it relevant today, with all fashion changing as quickly as it is.
Well, one of my favorite artists is James Goldsworthy, and the only thing that the two of us have in common really is that we work with natural materials. He's as far away from the event industry as you can get, but he takes natural materials and just does incredible things from it. Some of them last as short a time as 5 minutes. They're very ethereal, and nature destroys them very, very quickly. But he captures them on camera, and his photographs today are just amazing, and they hang in museums and are collector's items. James Goldsworthy, if you don't know him, look him up.
So who I find inspiring and most innovative is a man from the Netherlands called, his name is Marcel Wolterink. He's a man who reinvented himself many times in his career, from humble beginnings as a farmer to florist, event designer, furniture designer, and now he's actually embarked on international build-outs of architectural projects, interiors, and gardens.
I find a lot of people outside of the event industry very innovative, very inspiring too. I think that I love when people sort of throw out the playbook. I've got my new Microsoft Connect Xbox at home, and I love this idea that they just said controllers, no more controllers, and sort of looking at something with totally fresh eyes. Someone like Tom Ford, who said, I'm going to do a closed runway show this year, and just sort of bucked the trend of the whole fashion industry. I think there's a lot to be said by looking at something from the very beginning and just saying, we don't have to serve food on plates if we don't want to. We don't have to do anything the way it's been in the past. We can look at something in totally new ways, and it doesn't have to be plug and play. I think that's a big thing that we bring to our clients.
Nathan Myhrvold he was a founder of Microsoft, and he pioneered a company called Intellectual Ventures, it provides capital for inventors. And I think that in our increasingly corporate world, what he's doing is preserving the Ben Franklins of the world and the ability to do anything, and you don't just have to fit in your mold. He's making that possible for people. And he also happens to be a dinosaur expert. He's discovered 9 Tyrannosaurus Rex skeletons, and he's invented a laser to kill mosquitoes. And he won a barbecue contest and wrote a very successful and interesting cookbook. So I think he's inspirational because he can do anything, and you don't just need to find your niche and stay in it, and you can bring anything that suits you into what you do.
There's a lot of chefs. One of them is Ferdinand Adria in Spain. He's been such an inspiration to me, as well as Art Smith, Chef Art Smith. And those two guys have really, changed my life around as far as cooking and stuff.
I'm generally inspired by people who do it right. We have clients in so many different industries, from restaurants to fashion to medicine, that I'm just always inspired by people in any industry who don't half-ass it, who just make sure they do it right.
I think in industry, there's a gentleman by the name of Jeff Hurt that I think everybody should follow. He is very controversial, very brash, but a very smart man. Maya Angelou is somebody who inspires me. Her background, her success story totally inspires me. And from a professional standpoint, Poland and Waski, who created the campaign for the Old Spice guy, and being able to create something that people desire from a product that people thought was...
I find Preston Bailey to be very innovative, very interesting, really focused on the creative process. I constantly go in to see projects of his, and I just wow, I never thought of that. It was really, I love just getting those surprises. I find David Stark very, very interesting. I love the way he uses things, and the way he brings his message across to his clients is really special.
I think one of the most innovative people I've worked with is Bill Heffernan. Some of the designs he comes up with, I just got to ask myself, wow, how did he ever come up with that?
Actually, I would say my clients actually are really innovative. I have some really great clients. MSNBC is a terrific client. We do a great event for them with Rachel Maddow as a bartender. And Target, I would have to say, is one of my most innovative and favorite clients. We do stuff for them that's different all the time, and always is giving back to the community, which I think is a really great mix.
I think of Frank Lloyd Wright. That was I admire a lot, and everything he touched there, I think that I'm just looking at it and I'm awe of him.
By far, hands down, bar none, Ferran Adria. He's been a huge innovator in food. One of the top restaurants in the world, top chefs in the world. Just his creativity and ability to produce food. What he was doing 5-10 years ago, we're just starting to do it now. So he by far is my biggest hero.
I find young people really innovative and inspiring. People that have sort of crazy ideas or still sort of imagine extraordinary things. And specifically, I find the president incredibly inspiring. That he's been able to go through everything that he's been able to go through and still do an extraordinary job. I find people in the city of Boston incredibly inspiring. That they're holding on to who we are in Boston. But at the same time bringing innovation and great ideas and great places like this into our neighborhoods.
I mean, I really admire Kelly Wearstler and what she's done. I mean, she seems to have found her own voice. She doesn't seem to be, she hasn't lost her voice. She doesn't seem to be embarrassed that she's bizarrely quirky. She has a pretty fabulous sense of style, and she's built a business around that.
I got to say, it sounds a little bit cliche, but Lady Gaga, I think, here's somebody who's and of course, so many people are inspired, but here's somebody who's very driven to produce. In her case, it is an event. She is an event. It's all about the moment of drama.
LA is a really creative town, so it's a fun place to work, and there's a lot of innovation going on here in general. There's two party planners, Mighty Tucker and Ifat Oren, who I feel are really receptive to the chef as having a real role in a party, and sort of instead of coming to us and saying what they want, they come with an idea and let me propose my vision towards that idea, and I think that's an innovative way to work.
Flip Stark because of all the eclectic elements that he added to interior design. And we see a huge impact in the event industry.
I think some of the most fun that I've had when I started going to the Milan International Furniture Fair, starting in the year 2002, and I walked into something, I had absolutely no idea where I was going. I had no understanding of where a fairground was other than take a subway and get there and buy a ticket and walk in the door. And from that day forward, every year is like going to an art festival like I've never seen before. So I'm inspired by manufacturers of designers that come up with some of the most amazing feats of furniture, installations, environments. You absolutely build an encyclopedia for years to come every time you go there, and how overwhelming it is. There's so much to see, and what you're going to get from it and how it stays in your mind immediately or when you can pick it up much later. So it's amazing.
Well, I look up very much to Colin Cowie, which is his style, his elegance, his sophistication, his simplicity has always been, something that I've looked up to, and I've had the opportunity to be a friend and, learn from him and work together with him.
The people that I work with are innovative, and I think that's why we're such a successful company. We're able to bring in people who are the best at what they do and are able to take that and just continue on building on that.
I find Margaret Russell inspiring. Margaret Russell was the editor-in-chief of LG Core magazine, and she's now the editor-in-chief at Architectural Digest. She's brilliant. I think she's very talented and smart. She has a great aesthetic, and she really gets it. Not only is she good at what she does, but she also helps, architects and interior designers and event planners. And I think she's very smart.
I'm really impressed by the work of so many people, and ultimately it comes down to the people who aren't defined by conventional wisdom. The work of Franco Dragone or Frank Gehry, Philippe Starck, Lady Gaga. These are people that, in my opinion, are ahead of their time, and they follow their hearts and not necessarily what the rest of society or their industry is telling them to do.
Well, I think if you take something like Nespresso and you see what they're doing for coffee and the whole experience, I think basically where innovation is coming for was people are really smart to realize that it's not about selling product, it's really about selling the brand experience. So retailers who are using creative video and animation and design within their store to create a whole visual experience for the consumer, which they can't get online.
I find architects, interior designers, florists, package design, graphic, everything is inspiring to me. Every day when I'm out, I'll see something that just really inspires me, whether it's the design of a chair or design of a hotel or something to do with architecture or a floral design. I'm always amazed at how the mind never stops and creativity is constantly there and how it evolves. In the next 5 years, you don't think there's anything that could be more modern and more contemporary feeling, and you walk into a hotel and it's blowing you away. So there's not one particular person that inspires me. I think it's everyone out there with a creative vision, a photographer, a florist, anyone who really creates.